time when there was no time left. I mean, you know, humanity needs to hear this message right now, and the great gathering of humanity is so important. But even at this time, when extraterrestrials and things like this can be more, you know, obviously the Catholic Church has come out and said that they're real. Whether people know that or not, I don't know. But, you know, they've stated it. And even in these times with the technologies that we have, you must still come across skeptics. And how do you handle that, being an emotional person that you are, as well as I am? By the way, the DVD that I sent you made me cry, just because my grandfather's half Native, and I really felt like all of this that is going on for me has a very close feeling with my grandfather, and dedicating it to him really touched me. But how do you deal with people who might think, you know, be skeptical about this information? Because I just don't see how they could when it's so positive, but yet you still have that.
I have really been treated badly by certain people out there. Absolutely. You know, I was just talking to someone about this today, and I said to them, you know, there are always going to be people that agree with what you're doing and those that don't. Those that don't have the knowledge that you do about anything are going to feel threatened. They're going to be upset. They're simply not going to understand, period, because they just their level of education is not high enough, one might say, in a certain area. Or they are very educated to the point where they feel superior. Or, you know, and then there's so many other things out there. And some people
and a lot of that
are just cruel. They're just cruel.
Totally.
They're just cruel. And, yeah, the way I view it is that I have to keep doing what I'm doing because I know where my focus is. I know what the point of my work is. I know that some of the things that people have said about me are not true. And when they're not true, there's no beating down a door and saying, hey, it's not true. How can you say that about me? I've had apology letters from people. I've had apology emails from people, actually, and it's because I just keep walking my path. Because I know that eventually that person that's been, you know, tearing me down and saying what a horrible human being I am, or how I'm lying, or this and that, or I'm crazy, or whatever they choose to use for that moment, they're going to eventually either realize that they look like they're fools by publicly cursing and swearing and cussing me out, or they're going to realize that what I'm saying might have some merit. And so I just kind of brush it off to the best of my ability. And yes, I am a very emotional person, but in that regard, I'm fairly strong. I think when I first came out with Project Camelot, and some of the comments came up from them, that was really crushing for me. And I actually used to try and reply to those emails. And I still do, actually. If someone asks me a valid question that is not rude, but they're really ticked off at me for some reason, or they think that I'm full of bunk, I might actually email them back and say something. And, in fact, in the last couple of months, it's been very odd, because it's like this little influx of apology emails from people telling me that they, you know, who they were and where they trashed me. And then telling me that they apologized to me. And because for whatever reason, it's a variety of reasons. So it's a lesson to all of us that if you know what you're doing is right in your life and in your heart, you just need to keep walking and not concern yourself and focus, because that's a distraction. I talk about that all the time. We can't allow ourselves to be distracted in these particular times, because it's so critical that in whatever area you've been sort of moved to take action or take part in, whether it's learning about green technologies, or whether it's gardening, or if it is in a political arena, whatever your area of that grabs you and asks you to have that focus, just keep going there and don't let people distract you, as long as you're doing it with good intention. And that's what you have to do. And if you are in the right, eventually people will see that. And that's the bottom line. You cannot concern yourself. And actually, in that regard, I would have to say that Hopi has taught me very well in that. They have said that to me. My friends out there in Hopi have said that to me many times. Do not concern yourself, because they will eventually see the truth. And it's true. It's very, very true.
So true. So true. Your message is very important for people like me and others out there who have gone through those same things that you just mentioned. In the past 4 years or so, in my awakenings, I've gone through it, going through the different stages, and people get very defensive. They get very upset with you, and then later on down the road, they agree with you, and you're like one of their best friends because they want to know more. And it's really amusing somewhat when you see that transformation in people. You know, I personally never have been one to attack somebody who has a crazy story, because I really think, why would somebody say something so crazy to make, everybody hate them or point at them or cast them out if they weren't telling the truth? There's obviously more to this. It's, you should look into it and see what it is that they're talking about. And I, like I said, I personally have went through this myself, and I've asked some of the past guests that I've had on the show, like Dr. Deagle and Dave Corso and Aaron McClellan. Aaron said the same thing. Basically, what my grandmother used to say, kill them with kindness. You got to just be happy and try to give them the best answer you can. Knowledge is power, and when you start to gain knowledge and do your research and understand and be able to answer those tough questions, because that's all we're asking, really. On this show, that's what we're asking. We're asking for those people out there to call in with those tough questions, those ones that we're not supposed to be able to answer, because those are the ones we want. We want to be able to try and give you a reference as to what your question is, and then it's for you to decide. It's for you to go out and search for those answers. Don't always expect everybody like Camelot or Miriam or Jeremiah or anybody to have those answers for you. You really have to look deep within, because all change starts from within. I wanted to read something to you. The other day I had wrote this, and basically I was telling somebody some of this information at work, and I really felt like I had a psychic attack, because I'm standing there talking to this person, and the information is getting so deep. I'm talking a lot about my radio show and Aaron, and I was talking to an ex-Marine, and all of a sudden my mind went blank.
Yeah.
And I couldn't even remember what I was thinking. And all I told him right at that moment was, I have to go right now. I'll be back and I'll finish talking to you, but I have to go. And I went on break, and I sat down and I wrote this, and I just wanted to share it with some people here on the radio, if you're willing to listen.
You bet. Mm-hmm.
All right. I wrote, we seem to be constantly shedding. In this process, our perspective of the true nature of our reality is become more and more clear. The shifting of our paradigm and the evolution of our collective consciousness is allowing us the ability to understand who we are and why we have chosen to be here at this time. To take part in a transformation that is affecting the universe and far beyond. I'm learning who I am and what my purpose is at this time in this life. I know that I'm taking part in something so special. We have already begun to see the difference in humanity. We are consciousness having a human experience, and we are so much more. This is what we must relearn for ourselves. Our abilities are limitless, and we can make a difference. That's what I wrote, and it cleared my mind, and I felt more back-centered with myself, and I was able to finish my day. But these are the kinds of levels that you get to when you get into this information, and you start doing things like I'm doing, you know, and